What's up, guys? Welcome back here to another stream, y'all. We're going to do a bit of a morning update here for everybody. Let me get everything all set up and stuff. Then we will be sure to start here. But what's up, guys? Welcome, welcome. Hope everyone's doing well. Give me 1 second. I'm going to finish setting up here. Here. Alrighty. What's up, guys? Welcome back here to another stream. So in the live stream today, we're going to be going over pretty much everything that is going on across the country. We're still dealing with all kinds of fun weather going on. So let me go ahead and make this the goal real quickly, and then we'll get into it. So we're also going to do some zip code forecasts and stuff like that here as well in this live stream. So if you guys kind of curious of what's going on out there, I'll be glad to help you guys. What's up, Ponderosa? Hope you're doing good. Saying hello. What's up? Tabletop says, howdy, Andrew. Noticed SPC took away my marginal risk for my area. Surprised they did, to be honest. Well, there you go. You're out of the risk. What's up, Mel? Hope you're doing good. Hope you are doing well, my friend. But yeah, like I said, we're going to be kind of going over everything here, as well as we're going to be doing some personal forecasts and everything like that. We do have still some activity here in the tropics we're watching. Let's see, here's this. Now we got a little 10-10 chance out here in the Pacific. This one's not really going to do much. We do have that storm, though, we're watching that's tracking towards, the Lesser Antilles, which this one, they actually upped the probability again to a 20% chance probability overall. So basically throughout the next 48 hours, we have a 20% chance of the storm developing into, at least a tropical depression. And formation chance through the next 7 days is also a low 20% chance. So, the odds of this thing forming, is still pretty darn low. The system's not likely going to be anything big, so not too worried about that. But one of the main things that I'm a little concerned about here, is the heat and all these warnings and advisories that we have going on. I mean, we are having all kinds of issues across the country here. So yeah, what's up, Mark? Saying hello. Mel says I just got up a little bit ago. I got you. I've been up since 4:30 in the morning, so I've been up for a while. But I hope you're doing good, my friend. Let's see here. Central Missouri got up to 20 inches of rain last night. Is that true? 20? Here, let me pull that up on Pivotal here. That is nuts. 20 inches of rain. Let's see here. We're gonna do the observed precipitation. All right, let's do the last 72 hours. It does not look that's true. No, wherever you read that, it does not look true at all. We do have some areas that picked up like an inch or two up in like the northeast side of Missouri, but central Missouri has not even gotten an inch. I don't see where you're seeing 20 inches of rain last night. Yeah, that's not right. One thing central Missouri does have, though, is extreme heat warnings in effect here. It's going to get quite nuts out here. Currently, we do have the heat index values getting up to right around 110 degrees. It's going to be like this for a lot of people. I mean, this extends all the way from the Central Plains, through the Midwest down into the Southeast here. We got all kinds of heat warnings and advisories and stuff like that in effect. We still have a little bit of a flooding concern going on out here by like Indiana, Kentucky, West Virginia. You can see these green areas here. This is those flood watches that we have in effect here, which expire in about 9 hours or so. But we do have a bit of a concern here. Let's see here. Mel says, how is the Panhandle of Texas report for today? I'm doing okay. Panhandle, Texas doesn't have a whole lot of crazy weather going on here, as you can kind of see. Looking at the outlook for today, we do have a threat for a couple thunderstorms, given the general thunderstorm risk here, but we are not really looking at anything too big, anything really big going on there. So, Mel, you should be pretty good. Tomorrow, same thing. The day after tomorrow here, same thing. So, yeah, between now and what would that be, Wednesday, we are looking like just some thunderstorms out there. Let's see here. Ivan says, what's the weather update for Michigan? Alrighty, let's hop up here to Michigan. So Michigan's actually looking pretty good. We don't have any warnings or any advisories or anything going on out here. So weather seems to be pretty calm. No storms today. We're outside of that thunderstorm risk area here. Tomorrow, northern and western Michigan could get a couple storms. And then, of course, here for day 3, which will be the day after tomorrow, we are going to have the potential for more storms up north. But really nothing really crazy going on out there. Let's see here. Can I see along south of India? So my models in this program do not go out to India, unfortunately. What's up, Fire News? Welcome. Welcome. But yeah, no, today, guys, we do have a bit of a severe weather concern up here in the plains. We got another pretty big slight risk here, level 2 threat overall. Covers a lot of central eastern Montana, a bit here of the central western side of North Dakota, northwestern South Dakota here. We do have ourselves a pretty long 2% chance for tornadoes today. So these green areas here represent where we could see maybe an isolated spin up tornado or two. Good news, nothing really big tornadic-wise today, but we can't rule out a spin-up or two across the green here. Working our way over here to the damaging wind threat, we do have ourselves, pretty big area here for, once again, a bit of damaging winds. 15% risk here across the yellow, 5% chance here across the brown, potential for some gusts upwards of 60 miles an hour here. And then lastly, we have ourselves a pretty similar hail threat here overall. 15% risk here across the yellow, 5% chance here across the brown overall. So, what's up, Stretch saying California? What about California? Let's see, Kano words. Yep, sorry about that. Yeah, like I said, the program here, this one only goes for the states here. So we can really only look at the warnings and the outlooks going on for the states. Yes, indeed. Stretch says Bay Area. Which part? We don't really have a whole lot of craziness going on for California. Off the West Coast, we do have a little bit of small craft advisories. Out here by San Francisco, we have a bit of a coastal flood advisory going on here. But yeah, not a whole lot of craziness going on in California. Things seem to be pretty okay weather-wise. Not anything wild. Let's see. Mark says I was under a flash flood warning for observed 3 to 4 inches of rain last night. The roads across my county were flooding. I got you. Where's that? Central Missouri, you said? Yeah, like I was looking at Pivotal. I didn't really see a whole lot of rain out there. Once again, hopping back over here, you can see rainfall was pretty low from what it looks like. This is actual observed precipitation over the last, this is the last 24 hours here. You can see really the only areas that got rain is up in northern Missouri, along the far northeastern stretch. But yeah, I didn't really see a whole lot from Missouri that's fallen. We did have that big concern for Illinois yesterday. The flooding threat still persists into Indiana and Kentucky today, a little bit of West Virginia, a little bit of western Virginia here as well. So, let's see, gonna cook some breakfast now. Have a good day, y'all. You as well, my friend. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. So let's go ahead and take a look at today's excessive rainfall risk here. So the WPC does have a level 2 threat for flooding here. So the greatest potential for flooding is going to be here across the yellow areas here, which includes a lot of Tennessee, a lot of Kentucky, a little bit of southern Indiana, southern Illinois, a little bit of western Virginia, northwestern Georgia, and far northeastern Alabama here, and that level 2 flooding threat. So that basically means that there is at least a 15% chance probability of flooding, due to the precipitation we're going to be getting out here. So, there is a decent chance for flooding, which is a problem for some of those low-lying areas. So just make sure if you're in these regions here that you are, watching them. We do have a pretty big level 1 threat, though, as you can see across the really bright green colors here, up across the plains and, a little bit of the Rockies up here and, the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Southeast. We do have a little bit of a flooding threat going on here for today. Tomorrow, the main threat will flood, or the main flooding threat here will be for the upper Midwest, up here by like Minnesota, a little bit of Wisconsin, North Dakota here. Working into day 3, kind of a similar threat here. So we have a little bit of a flooding risk kind of going on here. But yeah, today's main concern, once again, is going to be, the threat for severe weather up here in the plains. Once again, we do have a level 2 threat for severe weather, a pretty long 2% chance for tornadoes. We do have this is our wind risk here, that 15% risk here in the yellow, and that 5% chance here in the brown. And then, of course, hail-wise, we do have a 15% risk here in the yellow again, 5% chance here in the brown. So, some hail today could get up to the size of, 1 to 2 inches in diameter, as well as damaging winds within those regions here. Potentially could be getting up to right around 60 miles an hour or so within those storms. So that is, that is kind of what we're looking out there for. But obviously, we have a lot of nasty heat going on, though. Today's going to be yet again another very hot day, in which, these areas here, these are heat advisories, all these brown polygons you guys can see here. These are all, heat advisories stretching all the way from Florida up the Carolina coast here, through a lot of the western, southeast U.S., a lot of the central plains, Midwest. So, and then these are the excessive heat warnings, which, once again, really, really warm conditions out there. What's up, Monkey? Hope you're doing good, my friend. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, that's going to be kind of one of the main concerns for today. They also did add an extreme heat watch for areas really for the rest of Illinois and eastern Iowa here. In this red polygon area here, this is where we do have that excessive heat watch here, in which heat indices of 103 to 111 will be possible. So that is definitely very warm, very, very warm. But yeah, once again, the green area, the green areas over here, indicates that flood watch that we do have in effect here. So a little bit of a flooding risk out here. Tabletop says SPC doesn't really retract marginal risk too often. I feel like, can you guess to why? Honestly, I have no clue why they removed that from you. Probably has to do with something with storm mode or initiation. I'd really have to look in the models comparing to yesterday. Let's see here. What's up, obesity? Welcome. Let's see, what, 111? Yeah, it's going to be very hot. It's going to be very hot, across a lot of the country here. I'm out here in central Florida. It's also, getting up to right around 109 and stuff, which is pretty crazy. Let's see here. Would you like to teach me how you stream your PC instead of having a camera pointed at it? No, I mean, I already do that on my main channel here as well. I have OBS, and I just set this up time to time for morning updates. If you go on my channel, you can go to our main page and you'll see my main streams I do. I usually just do this because it's quick to set up, and plus I like to, stream to shorts every once in a while too. But I appreciate it, though. I really do. But it's good. It's good to have you here, my friend, and I hope you're doing good. I see. There's probably Rizzy. Yeah. Like I said, it's just pretty easy and quick to just throw a live together instead of making a thumbnail and throwing all that on there. And it takes time. I just like to pop on for a quick little morning update and then head out. But yeah, typically in our evening streams, I usually do the main way. Yeah. But once again, thank you, though. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. So yeah, once again, everybody, if you're just tuning in here, like I said, we do have a bit of a threat today for severe weather. Once again, today's main concern for storms, and severe weather is going to be here across the plains, out there by like Nebraska, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa. The main threat here is in the yellow for portions of central eastern Montana, central western North Dakota, and a little bit of northwestern South Dakota here, which we do have a slight risk here, which if you don't know how that works, imagine a scale from 1 to 5, 5 being the worst level for severe thunderstorms and 1 being the lowest level. We're at a level 2 for today. So we're not super high, but even level 2 threats can still materialize to be, decent severe weather events, okay? So still keep that in mind. And we do need to be weather aware out here. I know there's not a whole lot of people out here in the Central Plains. I mean, there's a fair amount, but, it's not as populated as like the Midwest or the Ohio Valley or anything like that. But still, regardless, we need to look out for them. And we need to keep you guys updated. But like I mentioned, we do have a little shot for tornadoes today. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all these other polygons. So we're just focused on this area here. So yeah, this region here is where we could see the potential, for maybe a spin-up tornado or two. We can't rule it out. more than likely we're not going to really see anything big tornadic wise today. You know, the wind shear throughout the atmosphere doesn't really support any big time tornadic activity. However, we do have the potential in which a couple of spin up tornadoes could occur. And that'll be between North and South Dakota here, a little bit of western Minnesota, and once again, cutting through the eastern, southeastern, and central side here of Montana. So that's where we could see a couple of tornadoes. The rest of the country, not any tornado threat. It's really just up north where we do have that. Now, damaging winds, once again, we do have this big yellow area here. This is that 15% risk area here for damaging winds, you know, where we could see some gusts upwards of 60, at worst case scenario, upwards of 70 miles an hour possible. A 15% chance of that here in the yellow, and a 5% chance here across the brown. So, you know, the greatest risk here is across the yellow, of course. And then, of course, we work our way over here into the hail threat. Really not much different, you know, still got that big yellow area here, that 15% risk. And then, of course, we got the brown 5% risk out there. Now, hail size today is going to be mostly between 1 and 2 inches in diameter here. Given that there is no hatch risk or no significant risk for severe weather here today, more than likely we're not going to see anything, you know, super significant for hail. But, you know, the range here today is going to be between 1 and 2 inches in diameter here. Overall. Now, working our way over here into tomorrow. Now, tomorrow, it seems like another day of active severe weather in the plains. You know, a little bit of the upper Midwest here. We've got a level 2 threat up for Minnesota. So if you know anybody out there, give them a heads up here. Also got a little bit of a severe weather threat up here for Georgia, a little bit of southern South Carolina here. So we'll keep an eye out there for those areas here as well. Tornado-wise, tomorrow, we do have a little risk for tornadoes here for Minnesota, a little bit of the eastern Dakotas as well. Cannot rule out a spin-out tornado or two. And then, of course, we do have, you know, yet again, kind of a similar threat for damaging winds here today. You know, non-significant 15% risk area, 5% chance here across the brown. So, you know, still kind of in the range of right around 60 mile per hour wind gust potential tomorrow. And then, of course, we do have just kind of a large 5% hail risk overall here. And then, of course, lastly, we work our way over here into day 3, which would be the day after tomorrow, in which we do have a level 2 threat for eastern Minnesota, a lot of central northern Wisconsin, as well as the upper state of Michigan here. You know, the upper part of Michigan here. So we, you know, should definitely keep an eye out there for that. As of now, there's no breakdown for, you know, the probabilities because the Storm Prediction Center only does that for day 1 and day 2. So the day of and the next day. So, for example, today and tomorrow is the only days we have that breakdown. But we still have, you know, that risk area there. So we'll keep an eye out there that. We'll keep an eye out there for that for day 3. Now, hopping back over to the tropics, we do have a system we're watching. To be honest with you guys, I'm going to be straight up with you. We're not expecting much out of this one. You know, really, this thing has a pretty low-end chance of developing here. It's going to be running into some problems, including some wind shear as well as some drier air as it works its way out there by the Lesser Antilles. So this system really not is expected to do much of anything. So don't you worry. I know there's a lot of news outlets kind of hyping this up for no reason, but this right here isn't really going to be anything super crazy. Like I said, overall, we do have a 20% chance probability here of development, you know, throughout the next 48 hours, and also a 20% chance through the next 7 days. But like I said, it does have a little bit of problems going on out here. Now, look at the satellite here. We're actually going to hop over to GOES East. We're on GOES West here, so let's hop over to GOES East here. You can kind of see just a big clump of scattered thunderstorms associated with the storm system here. You know, it's really not doing much. You know, it's really kind of just a big blob of storms, and you know, this is going to be very limited in what this storm does. You know, actually, I'll go ahead and bring up the models here for you guys, and I'll go ahead and show you overall. What's up, Nathan? Hope you're doing good, my friend. Good to see you, my friend. What's up, Cade? Saying W weather-wise. Yeah, man, I tell you, I've been really kind of growing on this software here. Absolutely. I used to use Radar Omega, but you know, it became so bloated. It seemed, you know, it takes forever to load stuff. It's very choppy. That's why I switched over to this one. But let's take a quick little peek at the models this morning. So, you know, like I mentioned, we're not expecting much out of this system here overall. And you can see we do have, you know, that area that we're watching. You know, it's really not going to be doing a whole lot. Like I mentioned beforehand, you know, we are going to be running into a little bit of dry air here with the storm system. The main concern is going to be, you know, the wind shear and some of those lower mid levels that we're going to have to look out for. That's going to really kind of prevent this storm system from from really taking off here. When looking at the wind shear, you can actually see as we work way down in time how the wind shear does increase across portions of the Caribbean here, which as you know, tropical cyclones, they do not like wind shear because they need to remain vertically stacked. And when you introduce wind shear, it kind of messes up their structure, in which given that there is a lot of wind shear in these areas, that system is not going to do anything because it's just going to be too messy. Am I a big Rainfall guy? To be honest with you, not. I have nothing against the man, but I don't really watch him, to be honest with you. I've always done my own weather. Not to mention, I mean, I've been doing this since before I even knew Ryan, to be honest with you. I've been doing this for probably about 4 or 5 years. But, but like I said, I have nothing against the guy. I just don't really watch him because I just do everything on my own. But yeah. So yeah, like I mentioned, not a whole lot going on out of this one here, to be quite honest with you. Once again, GFS, doesn't really have much. Obviously, you can't go too far down in time like a lot of people like to do, because what you guys need to understand is that the further you go down in time, the more harder it is to, accurately forecast because the models become so inaccurate, the further that you go down in time. So the closest you are to the current time being is the more accurate you're going to be, essentially. But yeah, GFS doesn't have much going on. Looking at Euro, obviously it's good to compare between different model runs and stuff. I mean, you can see the system here, just that clump of storms rolling over to the west here. Once again, not doing much of anything. Gonna be, rolling into quite a bit of drier air. I mean, there's still gonna be a little bit of moisture associated, but but this does end up kind of running into a bit of problems like we mentioned here. So there's really not a whole lot of differences, between the ECMWF European model as well as the GFS that we just looked at here moments ago. And once again, you can still see that wind shear that does pick up quite a bit, as that system does work its way over here to the west here. What's up, Kim? Hope you're doing good. What's up, Justin? Saying, how can I get that radar you got? So this one over here. So this is called WeatherWise. This is the application that I use. Hopefully that helps. But yeah, so once again, just a little bit of a recap. Not expecting much out of it. We have a 20% chance of it becoming a depression, so the odds are pretty low. And even then, it won't likely cause any problems. Now, once again, we also do have another system. I know it's kind of hard to see here. We do have another little area here with a 10% chance of development out here in the Pacific overall. But yeah, this one's really not expected to do much of anything either. I mean, this one even has a lower probability overall. So, that is that. Now, one thing I do want to show you, from what I've been kind of seeing in the models and stuff, I do want to take you guys back over here to the models here. I want to take a look at the GFS. Now, I'm not saying this is going to 100% happen, but this has been very consistent in the GFS for a while now, to the point where I am comfortable enough to share it with you with some confidence. Because as you can kind of see here, I mean, this is only about 150, 160 or 70 hours out. This is within reasonable time frame. I wouldn't want to look too much further than this, but GFS has been really kind of pointing towards some more activity, in the Eastern Pacific, with some more tropical activity here. This in particular run showing 2 tropical cyclones, but once again, I don't like to go too far out here. I mean, this is about 200 hours out or so. But yeah, that starts to appear right around the 150 or so hours out. So, once again, it's within reasonable time frame, but once again, it's good to look at other models here. So, here's the Euro. The European model, doesn't really show a whole lot of anything crazy. I mean, maybe just a bunch of scattered storms rolling through, but to be quite fair, nothing super eye-catching right now. I mean, GFS is just kind of being GFS from what it looks like, but we'll make sure to still monitor that and see if anything does materialize out of it. CMC here kind of suggesting the same thing here. I mean, maybe some activity here as we approach our way in the later part of the month, but, we're kind of pushing it at that point, looking too far, so. But yeah, so nothing really big in the tropics. Just wanted to do a quick little update with you guys this morning on the tropics. Once again, nothing big there. The main problem here across the country in the U.S. here is heat. Heat is the main problem. Severe weather is a bit of an issue too. Once again, I'm going to go and overlay all those warnings and stuff that we have in the country right now. You can see there's a lot of stuff going on here. We do got quite a bit of activity here. In the deep south, we do have, a bunch of heat advisories here, stretching all of Florida, all throughout portions of Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, working our way up here into the Midwest here, even in the Central Plains. We do have a really big threat out there for heat being a concern. The extreme heat warnings here in this kind of purplish color, this dark purple. The red over here, this is our extreme heat watches in effect for a lot of Illinois, or really all of Illinois, as well as eastern Iowa as well, and a little bit of northern Missouri. So that's kind of the main threat out here. We do once again have a bit of a flooding threat going on here too, for areas out in like southern Indiana, Kentucky, portions of West Virginia, now moving out west, we do have a bit of a fire hazard here for Nevada as well as Wyoming here, as we do have a couple of red flag warnings in effect. So if you don't know what a red flag warning is basically showing you that wildfires are a concern, in which wildfires really thrive off of low relative humidity as well as strong winds. We kind of have a combination of both going on out here, where we do have a bit of strong wind gusts here, as well as a bit of low relative humidity, which kind of allows for that to occur. You can see right here where it says winds are to the southwest at near 20 miles an hour with gusts up to 35, which doesn't seem like too bad, but for fires, that allows it to spread pretty quickly. And then you can see the relative humidity as low as 7%. That is extremely low. Very, very dry conditions out there. So that's why we have those red flag warnings here, just kind of warning you. Conditions are dry, conditions are a little windy too, and that's perfect breeding ground for wildfires to occur. And speaking of wildfires, actually, we've been dealing with quite a bit of fire activity up in Canada here. Hopping our way over here back to the geo color. I don't think it's updated quite yet. It seems like it's lagging a little bit behind here. I might be able to bring up another software here so I can go ahead and show you, or another site. So we can look at that. But yeah, there is definitely a bit of wildfire conditions going on up here up in the north, especially out there by the Great Lakes region here. So let's hop on up here to the north. You can really see that here up across Canada. I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me zoom out just a little bit. But yeah, you can see all of that haze right here. This is all of that wildfire smoke. I mean, it's just all over Canada right now. Just really kind of bringing some bad air quality to a lot of the regions here, and a lot of that's even going into the States here too, especially up north. You can see a little bit of haze out there by the Great Lakes, so that's still kind of remaining a bit of an issue for some of these regions up here by the Great Lakes regions and all, but really, other than that, that's really about all that's going on here. Once again, just a bit of a recap. We got a lot of heat going on. We got a little bit of flooding going on. A little bit of fire weather out west here. Tropics seem fairly quiet despite two systems we're watching here, but they're likely not going to do anything. Models hinting possible activity here in the Eastern Pacific soon. And that's really about it. That's really about all that's going on here with everything. And I think that's probably going to wrap up this morning's update. By the way, if you guys did enjoy it, leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. If you guys have any questions before I roll off here, if you want me to take a look at your area just to make sure you're not under any warnings or anything, let me know. Like I said, we'll do a couple of zip code forecasts if you guys want me to. So if you'd like to go ahead and throw down your zip code, I'll be glad to help you guys out. I'll put it in here and I'll let you know what kind of warnings and stuff that you're under and everything like that. So just once again, I appreciate y'all for joining. If you guys could help share this channel too, just help, spread this, as we can help, potentially help more people out, and it'll be greatly appreciated. Let's see, you're thankful for the SPC downgrade for me. Oh, thanks always, brother. Yep, no problem. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't really much of anything anyways, given that it was just a wind risk out there yesterday, but yeah, they did remove it, so. Like I said, you're good. We cannot rule out thunderstorms, though, out there, given that we do still have a pretty big general thunderstorm risk area here in the green. I mean, you can see a good, 75% of the country has potential for storms today here in the light green, and, the severe threat in the dark green and yellow up here. But I mean, yeah, you can see there's a lot of areas here that we could get some storms. The only regions that we're really not going to see, not really going to see storm activity today is going to be up here in the northeast here, as well as a bit of Texas and the southwestern U.S. Those areas are really not going to see storm activity. But a lot of the Rockies, though, a lot of the plains, Midwest. The southeast, mid-Atlantic, a little bit of the Ohio Valley. We're going to see potential for quite a few storms out here today. So we'll just have to look out for those. But once again, the light green areas here just represent some storms and nothing severe about them. Just a little bit of normal thunderstorm activity. The severe ones that we need to look out for, the ones that could be a problem, are across the the dark green here, as well as the yellow as well. So the yellow indicates that level 2 threat that we do have out there. But alrighty, everybody. Well, thank you all so much for joining. I appreciate it. Once again, on your way out, if you guys could leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you're new. It'd be much appreciated. And if you guys could help share this channel as well, once again, it would be much appreciated, in which we can help you guys out more. So thank you all so much for joining. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll catch you guys later on this afternoon and evening for another update here overall. Thanks for joining, Scott. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining everybody else, of course. And alrighty, everybody. Well, you all take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out, my friends. Catch y'all later on.